Sometimes danger comes knocking.
Her famous words were, "He's creepy, but he's harmless."
There's no such thing as harmless. It don't exist.
Sometimes it barges right in.
And she said, "Welcome to the family. If you hurt my brother, I'll kill you."
And when good neighbors turn bad, it can be deadly.
A decision had to be made whether or not to let her live or not.
You don't want to imagine that that could happen so close to home.
On July 25th, 2009, police are called to a trailer park in St. Peter, Minnesota, where they find a resident dead on the kitchen floor of his trailer. And that's not all. The young mother who lives next door and her 4-year-old daughter are missing. Her family is frantic. How are these two terrible events connected to each other? And what turned this quiet Minnesota trailer park into hell on earth? In 2006, a young family moves in looking for a fresh start in a safe place.
We're a crime-free multi-housing community. Everybody that lives there goes through a rigorous background check.
Nice town. More police than there are necessary, probably.
Michaela Widmer, or Mickey to friends, is the family matriarch at just 18 years old.
First time I met Mickey was actually at my wedding reception. She came up to me and she gave me this big, gigantic hug, and she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "Welcome to the family. If you hurt my brother, I'll kill you." She, loved her family with a passion.
Mickey's boyfriend, Darnell Mears, is not her baby's biological father, but he plays the role well, despite his tough guy exterior.
He was kind of rough around the edges, long hair, tattoo, and he looked rough, but he definitely did his part as like a dad.
I always thought he was a good guy. For the longest time, we spent a lot of time together going fishing, and he seemed to be a real good father figure. And compared to her last boyfriend, or the biological father of her daughter, he was top-notch material.
They were perfect for each other. She kept him aligned, he kept her aligned.
Darnell works occasionally as a handyman, but more often as a stay-at-home dad. It's Mickey who's the real breadwinner.
She's always working. I think she was 15 when she got her first job. She's milking cows. She did nursing assistant and worked telemarketing.
Her daughter was her world, was her everything. A really good mom, like wonderful mom, like one of those that you aspire to be.
Mickey and Darnell don't have much money, but they are full of hope for the future.
How's it going over here?
I mean, it was an older trailer, but it didn't make any difference to her. So it was still her pride and joy. It was hers. It was hers to call hers. So she was proud of it.
There was wind chimes and bird feeders and not to mention toys. It was quite the jungle gym running around there.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. She had that yard decorated. She was like, nope, I'm going to make sure it looks the way I want it to, and it's going to look amazing. And you'd never know that it was a trailer, besides looking at the actual trailer. So.
Yep, that was the big thing, having their own space.
Mickey loves the outdoors, so she spends much of her spare time in her yard, which is how Mickey comes to meet her neighbors, like Elaine Hewitt.
I always went over to her house because she let me help her with the garden in the back. Her and Darnell, we'd talk about gardening.
Middle here, and then I was going to put these guys right here.
Very friendly. She always waved whenever we went by or anything. And yeah, she was just really nice.
She knew everybody, had personal relationships with everybody around.
That even includes the reclusive Rick Tabor.
Strange guy, interesting character. A little disabled, mildly retarded, if you would.
Might have been a little slow, but not to where it would make any difference.
As I was told, he was in the Vietnam War and had a few issues from that. That explained the strangeness of him, I guess.
Rick, an Army veteran in his 50s, lives with his aunt.
Some water?
She was in her 80s, couldn't get out of the trailer, and he took care of her. Did all her shopping, everything. Paid the bills, cooked her food, did everything for her. He just did it out of the goodness of his heart.
Like Mickey, Rick works a lot. He holds down 2 jobs, one at the local movie theater.
He was the janitor and I was co-managing the theater. Came in, did his job, and that's it.
Rick, we'll be back.
The second at Ruttle's Grill and Bar.
He was a maintenance guy, pretty much just part-time in the mornings, but every morning, very reliable. He was always there, no matter what. He was an all right guy, caring, wanted to make sure that he was helpful to you in any way that he could be.
In a city of 11,000, most everyone knows Rick by sight.
I did say hi to him periodically at Ruddles, and the conversation never went any further than a hi or a goodbye or have a good day.
But at the trailer park, some say he's not the best judge of what's appropriate.
I wanted to be kind of flirty, I think, but I wasn't very good at it.
Like my peach is juicy.
He generally wore a cutoff shirt.
He'd buy a brand new t-shirt the night before and cut the sleeves off it. I don't know, it was just his thing, yeah. And every now and then he'd come in with a new ear piercing that he did himself the night before that would always end up greatly infected. It's just Rick's way, I guess.
Hi, Rick.
Mickey always makes a point of saying hello.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing with Mickey. She would, like, befriend anybody. She just didn't have any discrimination. You know, she loved you if you looked rough, you know, as long as you had a good heart.
Tragedy soon turns casual neighbors into friends. About a year after they meet, Rick's aunt dies.
It left him alone is all I knew. You know, the companionship he had disappeared, basically.
It's a shock, you know. I saw it coming, but it's still a shock.
I'm so sorry. I just heard. I came home from work and there was a message. And...
Yeah.
Shortly after his aunt died, I know she brought him over dinner.
She had seen him beforehand, but they started talking to each other more neighborly than just normal, hi neighbor, how's it going? Mickey being Mickey, friends with everybody, and saw somebody who had a hard time going on,
Nice.
did what she could to help fix the situation and make it better.
Mickey senses Rick might be lonely, and Rick's grateful for the company.
Always wanted someone to come over, always wanted to share his space, always wanted to invite you in.
Thanks, Mick.
Soon, Rick returns Mickey's kindness.
I know that neither of them had their driver's license, and so he would offer them rides.
He'd offer to give her a ride to work or to the grocery store, and like Darnell would fix his lawnmower, and Mickey bring him over supper. So it was just kind of a give and take relationship.
It was pretty much, I think they could call Rick at any time and he would drop what he was doing and go help them out.
So today's a lucky day.
They even started buying lottery tickets together.
He'd pick her up from work, they'd stop and pick up a couple lottery tickets, and they'd split the cost, and then they'd split the winnings.
And Rick crosses into their yard more and more.
Yo, guys. Hey, how you doing? Look who it is. Hey, how was your day?
It was fine. How was your day?
Had a great day.
I think that was a lot of it. If they were out in the yard, Rick would just come over and be with them.
There was no fence. It was an open area.
They were big on, like, bonfires, things like that, so I think it just started kind of like, oh, hi, come on over. Especially when you have very little money. You know, stay at home and hanging out.
That's the way everybody was towards each other, so it wasn't, you know, not out of the ordinary at all.
Nobody sees this as strange, until the friendship grows too close for comfort.
Like, why are you asking me about my fiance's lower region and how she manicures it?
He had a big problem with Rick and Michaela's relationship.
In your dreams.
The death of his elderly aunt takes a heavy toll on Rick Tabor. Neighbor Mickey Widmer helps him through a difficult time.
She would clean house for Rick sometimes, just because that was another way of her helping out, because he's a single man and they're friends.
Kind of normal neighborly stuff, but I just thought he was a little old to be hanging with them.
It was like they were family. Yeah.
I have to go.
You'll be able to take me to work at 5, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Pick you up at 5.
Thanks, Rick. Bye.
Bye.
Mickey's boyfriend, Darnell, is part of that family, too. Rick confides in him and takes him to a special spot at the Casota Hill Cemetery where his aunt is buried.
When he was having, say, a bad day or a rough week or just needed a spot to think, I think he would go and sit there.
And Darnell shares his own special secret with Rick.
I want to propose to Mickey. Now, I've been waiting a long time to do this, and I think I thought of the perfect idea. You ready for this? You know how we go on fishing trips a lot?
They were going to go fishing.
Bring her up to the lake.
Mickey loved fishing, and he was going to put the ring on the end of the fishing line. It was like the perfect Mickey way.
It was something she had always wanted. I heard a lot of daydreaming about it.
But Rick's got a daydream of his own.
Tell me, Darnell, does Mickey, does she like shave down there?
What?
You know, down. Shave.
Does she shave down there? How the hell is that any of your business, okay? That's my
He had asked if Mickey had shaved her lower region, her private area.
That's my fiance you're talking about, all right, buddy? In your dreams.
Shoot in the breeze.
Shooting the breeze. You're an idiot.
He was trying to play it off as
Guy talk, Darnell.
cool, just guy to guy talking about a girl, but Darnell did not take it in a joking fashion. Like, why are you asking me about my fiance's lower region and how she manicures it?
It's just like a little strange.
And it doesn't stop there.
So, hey, Mickey, you ever take any pictures with that phone?
No, it doesn't have a camera on it.
What do you mean no camera? What kind of phone is that, no camera? I mean, I could get you a phone that has a camera, and then you take some nice nudie pictures of yourself.
He would get her the phone with a camera in exchange for provocative pictures that he was wanting in return.
Oh my god.
Hey.
Like, really? Like, that's kind of gross. And she just assumed that he was just joking around, just, you know, in a joking, perverted manner. Her famous words were, he's creepy, but he's harmless.
Darnell had thought that it was inappropriate, and Mickey had told him to drop it.
Rick talked this way to everybody. Nobody took Rick seriously.
Everybody was under the understanding that he was a Vietnam vet, he was a little messed up in the head.
Darnell doesn't consider Rick a threat, but the same can't be said of Mickey's other male friends. And despite his plans to propose, friends say he and Mickey are having problems.
You know, why the hell do you even wear makeup like that?
I knew you were gonna make a big deal out of this.
Big deal to what? You never even wear makeup like that for me.
Of course I do.
Oh yeah, when's the last time you did it then?
You know, they have their issues.
She was very young. I mean, there's one other boyfriend before this, so I think any person that age would be like, well, what else is out there?
She's not even do it for me anymore. Look at the dress you're wearing.
What
the hell is that? Every time I see you... I want to see what the hell this is now, huh?
Oh, yeah, I guess
Yeah, we'll see.
And the arrival of an extravagant gift, a trampoline for Mickey's daughter Cindy, doesn't help matters.
Check this out.
It was like a little bell, like, well, that's an awfully big present for someone that's just a friend, kind of thing. And so that, for me, it just rose a little question mark.
It was one of those things, you know, just a friendly thing, but I know Darnell had told him to take it back, and he just said, you know, no more, and that was it.
But that's not it. Soon, Mickey comes across another gift when she's doing Rick's laundry.
She was putting clothes away, and she had noticed a diamond ring. And she just said that it was weird. She had mentioned it to him.
It looked suspiciously like the ring she'd told him she wanted from Darnell.
Rick, it's me. No, listen to me for a second. I was doing your laundry and I found a ring.
Nothing to be mad about. That ring's not even for you. It's not for you.
Oh, really? Really? Who's it for then?
He had played it off as just a joke. He had gotten it for somebody else.
Bye.
But that's not what Rick tells colleagues.
Girlfriend found the ring.
That's what he seemed to be telling the coworkers and, you know, whoever would listen. That he's got this new lady in his life that is just infatuated with him and is just willing to leave her, according to him, just a loser of a boyfriend to be with him.
It does seem like he wanted Darnell's role. Definitely. You know, the father, the companion, you know, the partner.
It's not clear whether Darnell finds out about the ring, but he has his own reasons to be angry with Rick.
I know that he thought that Rick was peeping in the windows, and he had even gone out once or twice and had seen, like, footprints of where somebody was there and had seen maybe Rick running off or a figure running off.
Being her brother, she wouldn't be telling me those things, and Darnell didn't talk about it a whole lot because if he'd bring it up, then they'd get into an argument about it.
But the gifts keep coming. And when the next one arrives, a kiddie pool for Mickey's daughter Cindy, the couple accepts it. Some say they're benefiting too much to ask Rick to stop.
Rick provided rides to Darnell and to Michaela multiple times. He took them to get groceries, dropped them off at work. He took them where they needed to go. So they maybe let some of the comments or some of the propositions go.
Not that she was using them, but they weren't rich. They were poor. She would do anything to provide for her daughter, to make sure that her family was taken care of. And if it was getting a couple dollars for groceries, or if it was getting nice stuff for her daughter. so that her daughter could have fond memories of, I had a trampoline, I had a pool. She would most certainly accept things.
Poverty was, the thing. They didn't have a lot.
There were times where they didn't know, perhaps, where the next meal was coming from. He offered, so it's hard for me to say that they took advantage of him when he probably offered more than they asked.
But things can't keep going the way they are for Rick and for Darnell.
He drew the line and just said, I'll take care of my family and, knock it off.
Mickey Widmer's new friend and neighbor, Rick Tabor, is getting more brazen by the day, and her boyfriend Darnell has had enough. But so has Rick.
There were times he'd come to work and be upset, say that he felt taken advantage of. Just things like, boy, they owe me now. I had to give her a ride to the store last night and ended up having to pay for part of the groceries, so she owes me for that. That's money I'll never see, da-da-da-da-da.
And money becomes a concern for Rick. Ruttle's Grill and Bar closes down, and he loses his job.
That was a job that was important to Rick. And when the Ruttles closed, it was probably a hardship for Rick at that point.
It gave him a reason to get up and get motivated early in the morning, and it was a big change in Rick after Ruttles shut down. Yeah.
But losing the job doesn't stop Rick's generosity. His next gift, a swing set.
Her daughter was very excited because Mickey would do what she could with the money that she had, but pools and trampolines and swing sets aren't always cheap.
Darnell doesn't share the little girl's elation.
He wanted to be a family, stand on their own feet, I think, and get rid of that, relying on outward sources.
You listen here. You listen here. You are to not give Mickey any more gifts. You understand me? You understand me? Because if you do, something bad's gonna happen.
He drew the line and just said, I'll take care of my family and, knock it off.
If it was me, I'd have been getting pretty pissed.
It's not clear where Rick's getting the money. But there's something Mickey and Darnell don't know about their neighbor.
Rick actually became a person of interest in a recent burglary of a movie theater that he had been employed by.
The glass or whatnot had been broken from the door, and $1,800 had been stolen.
It appears to be an inside job, and Rick is a suspect.
That really surprised me, because I didn't think Rick would steal. When they told me they thought it was him, I was like, are you sure? I mean, he didn't even take so much as popcorn out of the bin, which you could have freely.
Rick's interviewed once by police, and they plan to speak with him a second time. But they never get the chance. Friday, July 24th, 2009, is the day that everything changes. Darnell has a construction gig, so Mickey stays home all day with her daughter, Cindy. But Rick soon stops by with news that draws Mickey out of her PJs and into his truck.
Have you ever heard of knocking, Rick?
I have the best news ever.
What?
I won the lottery!
You won the lottery?
How? She sent me text messages saying that her neighbor had won the lottery, that he had won a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I thought it was a great thing for her.
They were struggling like a lot of young couples that are in the trailer court. $1,000 would be great for anybody to win, but it was a windfall.
She said that they were going to Mankato to come cash the check and that she would swing by our place since we lived in Mankato on her way back to town.
Yo, Nikki, come on down. Hey, I got it all locked and loaded. You hop in here.
Since Rick and Mickey often buy lottery tickets together.
Hey, I got something for you.
Yeah?
Have a look.
Rick gives her a cut.
$18,000.
And it's much more than expected.
I have to text her now. Oh my God.
Darnell does not share Mickey's excitement. Mickey has to decide whether she's going to take Darnell's advice or Rick's money. But she'll have to wait to discuss it. That night, Darnell goes to a wrestling match with friends.
When we were at the wrestling thing, everybody had been drinking a little bit, and my friend Josh, every once in a while when he gets a few too many beers in him, he gets kind of obnoxious. And we got into a little pushing match, started fighting a little bit, and he's probably twice my weight, a bigger guy, and started hitting me, and Darnell kicked him in the face. So that was his way to end the fight, and it worked. The ambulance came because he was bleeding, and he ended up going to the hospital.
Hold you down for. That's what you get.
I think it was roughly between like 12 and 1 when we finally left the wrestling thing. We were really tired, and on the way home, that's when Darnell started wondering if Mickey was going to be there.
It's nearly 2 a.m. when Darnell, Mickey's brother Kyle, and his wife Becky get back to the trailer park. 12 hours since Mickey last texted.
Hey, what's the last you heard from Mickey? Got these text messages on my phone, that's pretty much it. Give me your phone. What do you want my phone for? Because she's my sister.
We noticed that she hadn't responded to the messages.
It was weird that she wasn't answering her phone, but maybe it was dead.
Whatever, I'm gonna go check inside. Is anyone home? Mickey!
When Darnell and the individuals came back from the wrestling match, they found that there was a deposit slip in the trailer for $1,800.
Darnell figures this means Mickey decided to take Rick's money, and he's angry.
He had made it clear that he did not want Mickey to cash the check or to accept any money cash-wise from Rick.
Maybe that's why she and her daughter Cindy are still not home.
They were texting Rick, wanting to know where Michaela and that was, and he didn't answer right away. They noticed that his vehicle was not at his trailer.
I think he had to text message Rick a few times to get a response.
Finally, after 2:30 a.m., Rick replies, saying he has no clue where Mickey and her daughter could be.
And he just said, I don't know, she ditched me at the bank.
Darnell immediately thinks Mickey's with another man, and Rick's covering for her.
Darnell was not feeling secure enough in the relationship due to previous fights that they had had. It's like, she left me, and it said that if she's not there by morning, you know, so be it, I guess, whatever.
It was a concern of Darnell's, and he didn't know who she would be with.
But things are worse than everyone expects. Much worse.
Everybody who knew her was suspect.
None of us had thought that he would be dead.
Mickey Widmer and her 4-year-old daughter Cindy are missing. Her neighbor Rick Tabor and her boyfriend Darnell Mears both claim to have no idea where they could be. But one of them is lying.
Me and Darnell had planned on going fishing. I went there to pick him up.
Heard from my sister? Nothing.
He still hadn't heard anything from her, is when he started thinking there's something wasn't right.
Rick's truck's here. He's gotta be here. Come on, let's go.
You could tell he was very concerned at that point.
Rick! Get out of here, Rick! I know you're in there! Come on, let's break in. I know he's in there. Whoa! Rick, relax for a second, okay? Just think about it. No, he's in there. Come on, let's go!
Busting the door down had been the plan, but that's pretty illegal and that we'd be sitting in jail no matter what if we did that. So that's when we had decided to go to the police station.
We're looking for my girlfriend. She's been missing for...
It's been 24 hours since Mickey's last text message, and despite his impassioned plea for help in finding her, police are immediately suspicious of Darnell.
Not answering. I don't know what to do.
I wouldn't wait 24 hours. Her loved one was coming over and didn't show up. Everybody who knew her or around her, at least at that point, was suspect.
Well, this bigger guy was poking at him a bit, so I said, listen, buddy, back up.
Because of that blood on Darnell's boot, they thought that Darnell had had something to do with it.
He said that he was involved in an altercation. It gives us a shot of his behavior that evening. At that point, there is obviously a component of aggression there, and so something that we have to consider in an investigation.
But it's too early to rule anything or anyone out. So police dispatch a patrol car to Rick's trailer.
Left the police station and went back to the park. They were already there.
An officer and a neighbor had observed the shade was moving, so they felt suspicious enough to at least consider that it was Rick moving the shade that was looking out and was refusing then to come to the door.
We gotta get in there.
So at that point, I informed the officers to enter.
Rick.
Police enter Rick's trailer at 4 p.m. and quickly determined that it wasn't Rick moving the shade.
It turned out to be a fan.
We thought they're finally going to go inside and they're going to get some answers. None of us had thought that he would be dead.
Guys, we got something over here. He was found in the kitchen area on the floor, face up, deceased on the floor. The odds were it was not a natural death.
It is now a death investigation. And now where is Mickey and where is her daughter?
It was just kind of a early frantic. Kind of where is she?
Once we had secured the scene and the crime scene tape was up, I had a conversation with Darnell, really about the circumstances, really about Mickey's daughter. Darnell could not be ruled out.
And Darnell?
Darnell was very cooperative, but we couldn't determine at that specific moment that he did not do harm to Mr. Tabor, or to Rick, or even his fiancée, Mickey.
Hold on a second. Yeah.
Then police get their first break in the case.
Hello?
It was actually very lucky.
A strange discovery the night before.
There was a couple teenage cousins, and they had made a wrong turn.
It's a small hill down into the parking lot area. As their vehicles made the circle, their headlights hit a pile of brush or wood chips.
The beams just flashed over that particular wood pile, and I don't even know initially if they really comprehended what they had seen.
And the one boy said, I saw what looked like a little statue because she wouldn't move.
Was it an apparition? Was it a ghost? What did they see? Could that have been possible?
It's no ghost. It's a young girl sitting alone in the dark.
I don't know what went through her little mind. Where's Mommy? Where's anybody?
I can't imagine how scared she was. The bugs had gotten to her quite a bit.
She wasn't able to communicate to law enforcement who she was, where she was from.
Until Detective Matt Groko connects the dots and asks police in the next jurisdiction to send him a photo.
I got the photo. I walked over to Darnell, showed him the photo, and suddenly there was an emotion to him.
Is this Mickey's daughter? Oh, man, yeah, it is.
And we were thankful that she was found and she was alive.
But at the same token, just deep despair because we knew she would never leave her daughter. Like, never. So we knew something pretty horrible had probably happened.
Like any major crime scene, you have a lot of officers that are standing around looking for things to do. Let's, canvass the area. And the first place I thought of was let's check the dumpster that's behind the theater. I was assigned, and I pulled up to next to the dumpster. It was full of garbage. There was a lot of plastic bags, and there's a car seat in here.
Yeah, Matt, it's Mark. I think I might have found that car seat you're looking for.
I called back and asked officers who were with Darnell what the description of the car seat was.
It's pink. Some flowers on there and green. Yeah, green and black. Yeah, that's the one.
It appears to be a match. And that's not all they find in the dumpster.
So the crime scene did show up and meticulously pull things out of that dumpster.
There was duct tape.
Some, I believe, flip-flops or some shoes of some sort were in there.
I remember they found her purse and her phone.
There was a checkbook belonging to Mickey.
A check that had Rick's name that was on it, and it was tore up multiple times, not just tore in half, but it was tore up a lot.
The cops pieced together Rick's check to Mickey.
It was a check for $18,000. And there was a kitchen steak knife in the dumpster that was visible.
It was serrated approximately 4 to 6 inches, and it had a dark handle. It was metal, and it had blood on parts of the knife. We now know that there is certainly a great chance of foul play with Mickey. I had a conversation with Darnell. What other places had he gone to with Rick?
You know what? Yeah, I think I do know somewhere.
And then reflected a cemetery that he wasn't certain of the location, but felt that he could find it, that he had visited with Rick to Rick's aunt's grave. At that particular point, I invite Darnell and Kyle into my vehicle, and I alert a few other officers within our department that we're going to go out towards this location, attempt to find this cemetery, that I would need a few officers to assist because that, at that point, was just a place of interest, a place that we needed to at least search, and hopefully that we could find it to search it. And we were able to, through a few pass-bys, find the Kasota Hill Cemetery.
It's kind of very secluded, off a gravel road.
I didn't even know that graveyard existed.
I remember we got out there really fast. The cops wasted no time getting out there to look. I was amazed how many people were out there searching.
You could observe, even through the darkness, that the area was essentially surrounded by trees, heavy woods.
I remember they told us to sit in the car so that they could keep track of us or whatnot. And we were sitting in the car, well, I guess it seemed like an hour, but it was probably only a couple minutes, and there's flashlights just scrambling to the corner of the cemetery. I remember hearing the dogs started barking, and somebody yelled out, "We got something over here." The investigator came back and said that it was nothing. He was going to stay there and help search some more, and he had a different officer drive us back.
But it's far from nothing. And soon the mystery of Mickey's disappearance will become all too clear.
I did not want them to remain at the scene. It happened so quickly.
We knew it was coming, but it was still horrible to hear.
Mickey Widner has been missing for more than 36 hours. Her daughter Cindy is found alone in the dark at a boat launch in the next county. Her neighbor, Rick Tabor, is found dead inside his trailer. Police search through the night at Rick's favorite spot, the Kasota Hill Cemetery. Her family waits in anguish.
We had to wait a really long time. And it seems like forever.
Sitting on the side of the road, about 20 feet from Rick's trailer, on a blanket on the side of the street. Just wondering when we're going to find something out and what the dogs had smelled when they were out there. And I think it was 5 or 5:30 is when he came back to the park and told us that they found her there.
It was rather dramatic. She was face down in a very heavily brushed, tall-grassed area.
Right on the corner by Rick's aunt's grave, there was a whole bunch of wildflowers growing. He dumped her in the flowers.
Her hands were duct taped behind her back. Her bra was pulled down, and it appeared she'd been stabbed several times.
It's a rough thing to find out.
I don't know, we knew it was coming, but it was still horrible to hear.
Even though we kind of had prepared. But you can't prepare to find out that, she's gone.
Darnell is equally shaken, and he's dropped as a suspect when police confirm his alibi for most of the night.
Well, I'm glad he was with a lot of people that evening because it made it where we were able to confirm through multiple people his whereabouts and his location that evening. So that was actually helpful.
Witnesses later confirmed that Rick is seen with Mickey's daughter Cindy before she's found abandoned.
He said that the night before that Rick had shown up at the movie theater with a little girl, and he asked the manager if someone was able to take this little girl to a G-Force movie. He indicated that the county gave the little girl to Rick, and Robert thought, there ain't nobody going to give Rick a little girl. And the theater staff was wondering, what is he doing? Rick was gone about 45 minutes, and he came back. He seemed very nervous.
Yeah, thanks, boss.
Rick leaves with the little girl, then returns to work his shift alone.
Rick showed up for work at midnight. This little girl was discovered at about 11 o'clock at night out at this boat landing. So he certainly had time to go out to the boat landing and drop this little girl off and to drive and go back to work his 2-hour shift.
Stop the car, Rick!
Police can only speculate about how the murder played out. They think the check found in the dumpster may be a clue.
Whether it was a $18,000 check was given to her to come and live with me or what proposition was, we'll never know.
he must have made a proposition to her for sex or something like that, that she just got mad at him and they got into an argument.
I think she turned him down flat, and he couldn't handle that. Probably thought he was being used.
I personally think that he probably tried something, because I'm assuming he must have thought, hey, I'm giving her money, it's worth a shot. And Mickey, being Mickey, made it point blank clear that ain't happening. And that's when I think he lost control. And because I'm assuming that she probably said a few choice words saying never gonna happen. And I just think a switch must have happened, and he just lost it and retaliated. And I think it just went too far.
Never do, Mickey! You don't get it!
I think it was kind of, if I can't pay her, no one can.
Rick never left a note. He never texted anyone. He never called anyone. He never explained to anyone why he had done this.
A lot of question marks. Because the only two people that know exactly what happened are dead.
Except maybe for Mickey's 4-year-old daughter, Cindy. Since police will never really know what happened that night, it's impossible to say whether the little girl witnessed her mother's murder.
I asked her about when she was in the car, and she said Mommy had tape over her mouth. And then I said, was Mommy asleep or awake? And she quick switches the subject. So we don't know.
I'm praying that he did not do anything besides punching or anything in front of her daughter. I'm hoping and praying that he didn't. And I like to think that, because you need some hope.
It's awful. I hope to God nothing happened in front of that little girl. That's terrible to think of.
Stop moving!
Either way, she was a liability, and her life was in danger.
Well, I think he was going to be caught. He was seen with this little girl. The little girl's alive. A decision had to be made by Rick whether or not to let her live or not. And for whatever reason, and thankfully, he made the decision to let her live.
The autopsy report shows that Mickey was not sexually assaulted.
I think that is a piece that is at least comforting to a certain degree.
Rick Tabor's death is determined to be suicide.
They said he drank Drano, and I said that has to be the most god-awful way to go.
I've heard anything from that. He drank bleach, and it was too painful and taking too long, so he started cutting himself, trying to cut his own throat.
Rick died actually from an overdose of sleeping pills that he had taken. And he had taken approximately 140 tablets. And what we had learned forensically and through the autopsy, that it was a death that was very, very painful.
In the weeks to follow, the extent of Rick's fantasy life is revealed.
Rick was never in the Army.
There was no evidence that Rick ever won the lottery.
Police never confirm if Rick robbed the movie theater, but it's possible.
The $1,800 was a significant number because the movie theater, which he worked at, was broken into, and $1,800 was stolen.
The park's residents vote to destroy Rick's trailer.
Who would want to live there knowing what happened, or who the person was that lived there before?
They let Darnell be a part of the demolition, so that was a good therapy for him, and they gave him a sledgehammer and let him knock down walls.
Everyone just kind of stood around and watched.
You don't want to imagine that that could happen so close to home. And it kind of makes you trust people a little less.
Darnell sells Mickey's trailer and moves away.
Being as that he wasn't the biological father, they wouldn't let him have her daughter. And so right there he lost his daughter and his fiance, and there was really nothing left for him there.
Overnight. Lost his whole entire family overnight.
Mickey's daughter, Cindy, is placed with a foster family, but eventually her aunt and uncle, Jennifer and Jeremy, win custody.
She's doing really pretty good. She sees like a therapist once or twice a week. She is basically, though, a real happy-go-lucky girl.
Mickey's funeral is held on August 1st, 2009.
How do you bury a 21-year-old, a mother? When we buried her, we put her daughter's hair. She'd been growing it out for a long time, so they had it cut right before. So we put that in there, and she was always kind of just a country girl. So Kyle and Becky had gotten a John Deere shirt and put that in there too. So.
Still to this day, I can't be quiet when somebody says creepy but harmless. There's no such thing as harmless. It don't exist.
Since we got really close, it's like she had became my best friend. She was someone that was there. I just miss her just being there, just being her. It's the little things. The little things are really what I miss the most, like her smile.